Hi there and welcome to part 4 of Bad Dad by David Walliams. Chapter 8. The Flying Vicar. In no time at all, Frank was speeding down the staircase and pretending he was a real-life racing driver. Thunk, 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 thunk. The washing basket juddered as it hit each step. Frank had to hold on tight or he might be thrown out. Whoosh! Just as in a banger race, there were plenty of things to bash into. It was hard to steer a basket, but Frank did his best to lean left and right, narrowly missing a broken-down washing machine, an upturned shopping trolley, a flock of pigeons, a TV that had been kicked in, a delivery driver carrying a stack of pizzas, a crate of empty bottles, a tiny old lady who was being dragged up the stairs by 3 little dogs. One person was not so lucky. That was the local vicar, Reverend Judith. Unfortunately for her, Frank took a bend far too fast and bashed slap bang into the lady. Boosh! Oh! She cried as she shot up into the air. Look, a flying vicar! The lady did a somersault, her first, and landed on her bottom. Splat! Fortunately for Frank, Reverend Judith was such a nice lady, she was the one who apologised. I'm so sorry for being in your way, called out the vicar. I'm so sorry, Reverend Judith, shouted back the boy as he continued speeding down the staircase. I hope to see you at church on Sunday, added the lady, hopefully rubbing her bruised behind. The vicar was always at the tower block inviting the residents to her empty church, even though they never came. Frank felt sorry for the lady, though not sorry enough to get out of bed on a Sunday morning and go. The washing basket rattled down the last few steps and skidded across the concrete. Eventually it came to a stop. The boy hid the basket behind some bins and then dashed off in the direction of the local pub, the Executioner and Axe. As he peered through the grimy window, Frank saw the pub was heaving. This was the grown-up world in all its glory. Men were arguing, women were fighting, and everyone was drinking. The pub was so noisy it hardly seemed the most sensible place for a top-secret meeting. Try as he might, the boy couldn't spot his father anywhere. Just as he was about to give up and head home, Frank heard muffled voices coming from the car park. The boy turned round to see some men sitting talking in a white Rolls-Royce. The Rolls-Royce stuck out not just from its bay because of its size, but also because it was the kind of expensive car you never saw on an estate like this. The boy couldn't make out the men too clearly as the car was full of cigar smoke. Frank edged his way round the other parked cars to get a little closer. He could just see the outline of his dad sitting in the driving seat. But who were the other men, and what was he doing in this hugely expensive car? To try to hear what was being said, Frank climbed up onto the roof of the plumber's van parked next to the Rolls-Royce. But all he could hear was the occasional word. It sounded like the men were talking quietly so as not to be overheard. The boy had come so far, he wasn't going to give up now, so as delicately as he could, Frank stepped from the top of the van onto the roof of the Rolls-Royce. He lay down on top of the car so he could hear what was being said. This would turn out to be a dangerous mistake. Chapter 9. One Job. What if we get caught? It was Frank's father speaking. Get caught doing what? Thought Frank as he lay on the roof of the Rolls-Royce listening in. If you drive fast enough, no one will get caught, replied a man. I've done all the research. I have plans of the inside. You will be in and out in 2 minutes. I ain't sure about this. It's much bigger than you told me. Just let me pay you back the money I borrowed from you, please, said Dad. Ha! I've heard that one 1,000,000 times before from you. I'll find a job. There are no jobs in this town, especially for someone who has to hop to get around. There was a low rumble of mocking laughter from the 2 men in the back seats. You love your boy, don't you? Said the man. Frank gulped. He was talking about him. Yeah, of course I do. I love him more than anything in the world. What's he got to do with all this? Well, I would hate for anything to happen to him. You leave my boy out of this, then do as I say. If you ever do anything to hurt my boy, You'll what? snarled the man from the front passenger seat. "Take off your false leg and kick me with it." The two men in the back laughed again. All right, said Dad. "I'll do what you say, but just this once. One job, and then I am done." That wasn't too hard now, was it?" purred the man in the front seat. "So, Gilbert, I want you to show me that you can still drive, like in the old days." "I can still drive all right, leg or no leg." "Then show me." "Are you ready?" "Yes." "Hold on tight," replied Dad. The huge Rolls-Royce engine revved up. Then the back wheels spun furiously and clouds of smoke filled the air. Frank couldn't help but splutter at the smell of burning rubber. The boy struggled to his feet so he could jump back onto the van parked beside the car, but Dad was much too quick for him. The Rolls-Royce raced off into the night with Frank standing on the roof. Chapter 10. No time to breathe. Frank slammed his body down onto the roof of the car and clung on for dear life. The Rolls-Royce had spun out of the pub car park and in no time was speeding down the road at 100 miles an hour. The boy's eyes were watering and his hair was sticking up on end. This was the most dangerous fairground ride of all time. Of course, Dad had no clue his son was clinging onto the roof of the Rolls-Royce. If he had, the man would never have driven through a red light, whizzz, swerved sharply to overtake a bus, or crashed through a fence, push, before speeding through the park. The Rolls-Royce bobbled up and down on the grass. The boy was bounced up into the air, his body thumping up and down on the roof. Foot. Just as he dared to open his eyes again, Frank saw they were heading straight for another fence at the far side of the park. Planks of wood exploded into the air. A large chunk whizzed past the top of Frank's head. Everything was happening so fast there was no time to breathe. The car was heading straight towards an alleyway, which was much narrower than the car itself. If Dad didn't put on the brakes right now, it looked like the Rolls-Royce would smash slap bang into a brick wall. "Stop!" shouted the man in the passenger seat. "Ah!" screamed the pair in the back. Instead, the car's engine revved and sped up. "No!" came the shouts from inside. Frank couldn't take it anymore. The boy had to close his eyes. Chapter 11. 2 wheels are better than 4. On one side of the alley was a pile of planks of wood. The Rolls-Royce turned sharply and the wheels on the left side mounted the planks and it vaulted onto 2 wheels. Frank opened his eyes again as he found himself sliding down the side of the roof. His fingers desperately clawed to get a grip. Still on 2 wheels, the car just made it through the narrow alley. "Whoosh! You're squashing me!" came a shout from inside the car. Bursting out the other side of the alley, Dad turned the steering wheel sharply and the car bounced back onto 4 wheels. Boing! Just as Frank breathed a sigh of relief, a siren blared. Blue shadows flashed on the buildings around them. The boy looked over his shoulder. A police car was chasing after them. Dad put his foot down on the accelerator and the Rolls-Royce whizzed off the wrong way down a main road. Frank couldn't believe his eyes. The car was weaving in and out of the traffic, coming straight at them. Lorries and cars swerved as Dad managed to twist and turn just in time. It was thrilling and terrifying all at once. Up ahead, a wall of flashing blue light was travelling rapidly towards them. For a moment, Frank struggled to work out what it was. He squinted. It was the police. A line of police cars was travelling towards them at speed. They were driving in formation, blocking out the whole road. There was no way round them. There was no way under them. There was no way through them. They were trapped. Dad was a champion racing driver, but surely he couldn't win this time. Frank breathed a sigh of relief. This horrifying ordeal was over. He was going to see his 12th birthday after all. However, instead of slowing down, Dad sped up. Between the Rolls-Royce and the wall of police cars was a huge lorry. The lorry's trailer was one that transported cars, though right now it was empty. The lorry driver must have panicked at seeing this car speeding straight towards him as the vehicle spun round dramatically in the middle of the road and came to a halt. Dad seized his chance and sped towards the back of the lorry. The ramp for loading cars was down. The Rolls-Royce powered on straight at it. It hit the ramp and raced up it. When it reached the top, the Rolls Royce took off and flew through the air. Whizz! The boy could feel his heart beating in his chest. Boom, 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 boom. It was beating so hard it felt like it was going to burst out of him. Time slowed down and sped up all at once. Frank was flying. He wanted it to end right now, and he never wanted it to end. The Rolls-Royce soared over the line of police cars, just clipping the roof of one with a back tyre on the way down. Crunch! Before it crash-landed on the road behind the wall of cars with a huge bump. Frank thought he was going to be hurled into the air as the car bounced down the road like a football. Boom, boom, boom. The boy just managed to get a grip on the roof of the Rolls-Royce. In no time, the car righted itself and sped off down the road. Frank looked over his shoulder to see the chaos his father had caused. The policemen were struggling to turn their cars round, but as they had stopped in tight formation, they'd blocked themselves in. The police cars bashed into each other as they attempted to give chase. Bash, crash, crunch! Despite nearly dying 100 times, the boy couldn't help but smile. His hero of a dad had done it again. There we are. That's the end of part 4. I hope you enjoyed Bad Dad. If you did, don't forget to like and subscribe, as that helps to support the channel. Thank you, and see you again for part 5.